This is how we're doing it all season long, live after the games for members only. On Monday, everybody else will get the drop. If you aren't signed up for the site, make sure you do that right now. You get all of our news, our analysis, the shows ahead of everybody else, and so much more. Use the code CAMP24 to save 20% on your first payment. We're coming to you from the Superdome, but we are in the mobile Ochsner Health podcast studio doing the NewOrleans.Football show presented by PJ's Coffee. We're going to break down this whole entire preseason game, the preseason as a whole, kind of preview roster cuts a little bit. We're going to do that a little bit more tomorrow from Tracy's on Magazine Street at 3 o'clock. We're going to be going live from there just to talk about a global wrap. Come on through, get something to drink, get something to eat, check us out. We'll be there for about an hour tomorrow afternoon, so make sure you come through and check that out. And if you need to get there, you might as well buy a car from Matt Bowers to jump into and drive there. And he's got great dealerships all over the region, all kinds of different types of cars, great prices, great customer care, the best car buying experience that you can have. And if you look at Matt's Twitter, he's I think maybe the number one Spencer Rattler guy, so he's got that going for him. We're going to talk about his performance and everything else on this show after this very quick word from our great sponsors. Ochsner Health inspires healthier lives and stronger communities through a combination of standard-setting expertise, quality, and connection not found anywhere else in the region. To learn more about how Ochsner empowers people to get well and stay well, visit ochsner.org. Long live you. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out.
Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hard Hide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show.
Welcome into the mobile Ochsner Health podcast studio here in the Superdome for the post-game edition of the NewOrleans.Football show. I'm joined by Mike Triplett and Nick Underhill.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How you feeling today?
Doing all right.
That's good. How you feeling, Mike?
I want to talk about this bold proclamation in the ads. If anyone fast-forwarded, Matt Bowers, friend of the program.
Yeah.
the number one Spencer Rattler
I think so.
on Twitter, he has to get in line.
No, I think Matt went viral today. He said Spencer Rattler is the best QB on the Saints roster, not even close. Yeah.
Well, I think
if you're the number one Spencer Rattler fan on Twitter right now, you've achieved something, my friend.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, hey, he played great today. The man played great. I thought he had the best drive of the preseason for the Saints, and that's counting the 95-yard drive. I mean, that throw to St. Brown, I mean, that was the best throw of the preseason, bar none. Like, not even close. I mean, this guy has a ton of talent. I mean, he really does. I think he's worthy of the hype a little bit.
let's get into it, man. I appreciate the early preview. Let's get into this segment, our first segment presented by Shawberry Insurance, the Earhart Agency. No car today. We got to see Haener. We got to see Rattler. It's all on tape. As you just previewed, Rattler was making plays. So who won the backup quarterback battle?
Who won it? I mean, I think it should. Look, I mean, if I got to pick one of the two, it's Spencer. Like, Spencer, I think, is the player that I want going on the field for me. And, you know, I think DA kind of spoke to what everybody was seeing afterwards. He said the last 7 to 10 practices, like, I saw a huge step forward from Jake Haener in practice, and, like, we all saw that too. And that's what we're seeing every single day. But I don't think it's translated great into the games. Like, he had a touchdown taken away today, and I think that kind of mars his performance a little bit. I think he had a really good preseason. I think he looked really good. But, I mean, like, if you know, I'm watching a game and Derek Carr goes down, like, I want to see Spencer Rattler in the game. And, you know, I think that he just kind of has, like, some moxie and swagger and some, you know, like, I don't know, just bring it. Like, seeing it in the game is huge. Like, but a week ago I would have felt the opposite. I thought he was iffy in that San Francisco game. So, you know, I don't think that I'd be up in arms either direction. But if I'm picking one, I think I got to put Spencer in the game.
Well, let's have two separate conversations here. I mean, if there is any conversation about picking Haener, and I'm going to make a case for Haener in a minute, nothing is going to take away from what we saw from Rattler today. I mean, that people saw it. If people weren't at camp and they were just reading it and they didn't necessarily believe it and they've only seen the preseason games, this is it. This is the kind of things he can do. Those throws are incredible. He flicks his wrist and the ball goes down the field. One of the best throws he made was another deep throw to Equanimeous St. Brown. And if, you know, I don't know if you would say it was out of reach of his fingertips, St. Brown could have timed it better. I don't know. But if that catch gets completed, you know, this is what they're talking about on SportsCenter tonight, Spencer Rattler's performance. So his talent is unbelievable, undeniable. You know, consistency hasn't been there. I think it's a little disappointing that after he had that monster game in the first preseason game, he really went quiet for not just the San Francisco preseason game, for several practices as well. The only thing I don't know is the rookie, and we should.
He did get hurt. He was hurt.
Yeah, he had a minor injury, missed one day of practice, but that's how you make a backup quarterback decision. Is has he done enough to take any volatility out of it? It's like a trust or a safety issue. So the backup quarterback job is not saying who's the future of the team, who should you be more excited about coming out of preseason. That's all Rattler. Who is one snap away from going into the game in week one. I've had Haener ahead all along, and I think it would be shortchanging Haener to say he did anything to lose that. That's the only thing. I actually thought Haener looked good in this game today.
Counterpoint to that, though, I think he went back in the game to see how he would look going into a game cold. Because when he came into the game cold against San Francisco, he came in way too hot. It looked really bad. Yeah. It took him a while to settle down. He almost threw multiple interceptions. He comes in again, like, starting the halves, like, he was fine. Like, he's coming in as like a starter.
Very fair.
He comes in at the end of the game, it's punt. Like,
very
you know, fair. I think as the actual aspect of, like, coming into a game cold and leading decent drives, I think Rattler's done that better. Like, I really think he has.
Yeah, it's a tough call. But, I mean, look, again, saying Haener is like going out in the streets wearing a sign, a hit me sign right now. I'm not going to say I'm like more impressed by Haener. It's just I'm just trying to get inside their heads, and if they felt more comfortable with Haener's consistency, has that changed because Rattler had one of his up days? Maybe so.
But it's not even about Rattler for me. Yeah. Like, my thing with Jake is like, why going into this it was like, well, he'd be better coming in off the bench. He could probably lead it a little bit better. I have more faith in him to keep a game together. But then again, he came into that San Fran game and was just it was like his hair was on fire. And he said afterwards, like, hey, I got to figure out how to do this better. And then again, like, he entered this game like a starter today. When he entered the game as a backup, like I think for me on that it's kind of like I
coming out of the bullpen,
confidence eroded for me because of that. Like so. I don't know. Like I think he lost the thing for me that I was giving him the edge for. And Rattler came in. He was coming out of the bullpen today, and he looked good doing it. Now, granted, he knows when he's kind of going into that game, but so you can prepare a little bit. But I think the thing that I thought made me more confident kind of was fake. Like I don't think the thing that was giving me confidence was ever real.
Yeah, and I will agree. Saying Haener has more experience. He has one more year, but it was with a totally different coaching staff. They have the same amount of experience in this system. And Haener didn't get into a game last year. He actually was suspended and missed a lot of time last year. So he has slightly more experience, but that is also a fake edge, I think, if you're going to give him an experience edge.
2 weeks ago, we said that Jake was the backup. That's something we said in California.
He was a backup going into this game.
True. Very true, actually. But Rattler just seems like a shot in the arm to the entire morale, moxie of the team whenever he comes into the game, and he makes the plays to kind of prove that point. So I'm going to say that Rattler won, not just based off of strictly his skill, because his skill is there, and Jake's skill is also there, but just because of what he brings in terms of factor to the team.
Again, before I get killed, if I'm not already being killed in the comments section, I don't disagree with any of that. But like, if we're placing a bet on what the Saints are going to do, I'm still not sure if I would be surprised if they're like, nope, Rattler's number 2. It's already happened. I don't know if they're gonna make him wait longer. I don't know. I haven't decided that I'm convinced the Saints have seen enough to make that decision yet. But if they do, it's off to the races with Rattler, you know.
Now let's roll into our next segment presented by Urban South. With the premier starters out, we got to see a lot of guys get run today. Some guys that were on the fringe and some guys that were on the outside looking in. Who has played themselves on and off of the roster?
Well, I mean, I made a change today. I put A.T. Perry back on. I had him off going into the game, and I put him back on. I mean, I have no idea how they feel about him. I don't know if they feel confident in him or not, but every time there's a game, he makes some plays. Yeah. And I think, honestly, if you look at it, I do kind of feel like today I felt like there was separation between the packs a little bit. And, there was St. Brown and A.T. Perry on this side of it, Bob Means on this side of it, and kind of everybody else on the other. And, I think those guys are just different than Nakua and Kevin Austin and kind of everybody else. And, I even kind of have more faith in Perry than St. Brown at this point a little bit. Like, he needs he dropped a couple passes. Like, it's just kind of things just need to get a little bit.
You count that as a drop, that deep ball?
I mean, it hit his arm, man. Like, an NFL player has to make that play. Yeah. Like, your quarterback puts that right there over the coverage. It's,
missed opportunity.
That's a touchdown every single time for someone that's, a top 3, top 4 receiver. Like, it has to be. You can't have that. Like, yeah, you got to track the ball and catch it, but like that's the difference between NFL and CFL. Really, it is. I mean, you got to make those plays.
Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes people don't. And I think St. Brown's an NFL player, but like I'm not giving him. I can't give him a pass on that one.
Although A.T. Perry also. Probably Jake Haener's best throw of the game was that 3rd and 12 throw where he escaped the pressure and he got the ball off to Perry, and they called it a catch at first, and then they said he didn't get his second foot end down. Don't necessarily blame him for that. He made a really good attempt at it, but that's another one. And then obviously Haener and Perry connected on what should have been a touchdown.
Yep.
Could have been a monster game for Perry. I did not have St. Brown on my roster, and I wanted to make room for him, but I had Perry on my roster going into this game, and certainly Perry didn't play his way off it for me. But those are the two guys who made the decision very tough. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Blake Grupe was the guy to beat already, but I think he cemented his place on the roster today. Charlie Smith was dealing with groin tightness, so he didn't even kick a field goal or an extra point. But Blake Grupe goes out there to attempt a 50-yard field goal, and good for Grupe that he got that opportunity. 54 yards is like the perfect distance. That's like, if you make this, I think your job is safe. If you miss that, I think they see who gets cut from other teams and they consider that option. I mean, I think that one kick was almost make or break, and then he also made the shorter field goal later. All the extra points ended up perfect in the preseason. I wrote him in pen on my roster by the end of this.
I think the decision, I don't know. Well, I guess like Charlie Smith was injured. Hopefully that injury doesn't last all year.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's not on IR the whole entire year.
Hopefully not. I think two players that played themselves kind of out of the mix are Kevin Austin Jr., who kind of never really was in it all the way, and then Michael Jacobson. Just costly penalties. Austin Jr., he didn't catch the ball when it hit him like square in the chest. He just dropped it. And then Jacobson, he had those two special teams penalties along with a offensive penalty. I don't see how they make it. I don't see how they make it even hard to put them inside of the mix right now.
Oh, man, I'm having a brain fire. Who was the punter before Lou Headley?
Gillikin.
Yeah. I mean, you remember Gillikin? Like, he had a really good summer, and then it's just kind of crazy. These specialists, they get these like injuries like right before the season after a really good camp.
That is crazy.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate.
Speaking of Lou Headley, played his way off the roster. I mean, his last punt was the worst from either punter of the entire preseason. Backed up against his own end zone, didn't even get it to midfield, and then it got returned like 25 yards to the 25. Was I think you turned to me and you asked who you had at punter. Like, would that have changed? Like, would that one?
Oh yeah,
punt
no,
have
I did.
changed your mind?
I changed my punter on that because
you had Hayball before that, but you confirmed that you had
confirmed
Hayball.
that. I thought I ended up putting Headley. I think I had Headley and then changed it, and then went back to Headley and then changed it again because like
it was.
I've liked Hayball better the whole entire time, but it's just like I have a blind spot on Lou Headley, and it was just kind of like I'm going to be wrong on this, but like. You know, and then I went back and forth. But yeah, that punt would have changed it for me. I actually thought I had Headley on there, but okay, good. I'm glad I ended up going with Hayball because like that's been the guy I like better since the beginning. It's just like they have this affinity for Headley. That's just I can't explain it.
Headley ended up with a net of 28 on his 2 punts today. That's not what you want in the final audition. You mentioned Samson Nakua, and I agree. He did not make any of our rosters. And I don't think he's going to make the Saints roster. But we'd be remiss not to mention, you come in here and you got to make a play. It's right behind us. You're supposed to make a play and try to change your fate.
Yeah.
Nobody's tried harder on one play than a 106-yard return that should have been a 109-yard touchdown return, which I wrote about for the website after, because he's just a delight to talk to. I actually hope he sticks on the practice squad. That's a really tight competition with all the receivers they have in camp. I don't even know for sure if he'll get the chance to do that. But that, you come out to a third preseason game and hope somebody or something wakes you up. We had Spencer Rattler, and we had almost a 109-yard touchdown play today, so that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think he's probably practice squad. I think he's a good practice squad candidate. I'd like to see him on the practice squad. I mean, I think he's, if there's some injuries or something, it'd be nice to have that guy close by. Like, I don't dislike him as a player. I think there's something there. I just don't think it's 53.
Let's talk about it real quick though, because if A.T. Perry and Equanimous St. Brown both made it, that'd be 6. If Stanley Morgan made it as a special teamer, that'd be 7. If Mason Tipton's going to make the practice squad, that's 8. I think Nakua is 9th at best, and there's still Kevin Austin, and
maybe
tough position, tough position,
yeah.
tough position,
very tough position. Let's roll into our next segment, presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood, a hot topic on the show for basically the entire training camp. Right tackle. Trevor Penning and Oli Udoh both got run today at right tackle. Throughout the week, Oli Udoh has started to get some more run throughout practice. But did Trevor Penning do anything today to make us change our thoughts about him?
Yeah, look, I thought he had a couple of rough moments. Like, I really didn't like the jet sweep play. Like, he kind of got bench pressed back into the route of it. And I was going back and forth with some guys on Twitter who said Bud Mean should have cut it inside. And, like, yeah, I mean, like, maybe he should have, but he's a 5th-round pick running a jet sweep probably for the first time in his NFL career. Like, that's a hard vision and a hard cut. And when you actually kind of watch it live, like, you can freeze frame it, and it's like, oh, you should have cut here. But, like, when you watch it live, it's kind of like, I don't know where Bub was supposed to anticipate that Trevor was going to get blocked into his path. But, like, yeah, sure, like, perfect world, better player. Like, you want to see the cut inside. But he's trying to hit the edge like he's supposed to, and he was impeded from doing that. And there were a couple plays that I thought were spotty from Trevor, but it was like he kind of hit a point and locked in and played better the rest of the way. And I thought he looked really good run blocking a few times. He caught my eye a few times. I think I saw one pressure in pass pro. He had a block on the touchdown. I think he held his own today. He got back to looking like that, functional player that we were hoping to see, and we kind of thought the ship sailed on it after last week, and he kind of turned the tide a little bit today. Still got to see it against first-team players, game planning against them, all that stuff. My confidence level is still low overall until proven otherwise. And I'm not going to be proven otherwise in the preseason, but I'm slightly more back to maybe, like, you know what I mean? But very skeptical.
I did not go back and watch every clip of him yet like I did in the first 2 preseason games, so I have to reserve judgment because the ones I saw 4 or 5 that I did not like early in the game. And so that's good that he did better. I obviously saw the clip that everyone was retweeting when he had the big pancake block on the guy down to the ground on the long run. Was it a long Mims run that he sprung?
That was a Mims first down.
So that was good. Dennis Allen said he thought from the naked eye, and he's probably hearing guys in his headset reviewing it from up in the booth, that he thought Penning was even better than last week, and last week he was better than the week before. So that's all good to hear, but my opinion has not changed. My opinion has always been that he gives me that's the most uncomfortable spot on the team.
No doubt.
And that hasn't changed.
I'm not getting burned again. Burned again.
No. We'll have to see it week 2, week 3, week 4. Like, there's no coronation in the first month of the season even. Like, it's just, you got to see it. You got to see it for a while. And that's not, hate or whatever. Like, it's just got to see it for a little bit, man. Like, it's been a long time, and I'm not getting fooled off of 1 or 2. Like, we kind of, you see the roller coaster even in these games, and there's like the extreme lows, and then is it okay? And then
series to series,
yeah. And I'm legitimately concerned about what happens with a team having 2 weeks to plan against them. Like, I'm really curious to see how that's going to end up looking.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it for this top segment. We hope y'all stick around and check out our great sponsors. When we come back, we'll continue to talk about the preseason game and hitting the Martin's question of the day. Keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for 1 system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Score big with kickoff combos at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Comes with fried shrimp and your choice of soft-shell crab traditional or our famous thin-fried catfish, all served with garlic herb fries, starting at only $10.99. Only at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktails. Wall-to-wall, state-of-the-art TVs mean you'll see every touchdown, Hail Mary, and big turnover in crystal clear HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino in Baton Rouge, where every moment is a win.
Welcome back to the Mobile Oshner Health Podcast studio here in the Superdome. It is now time for our next segment presented by Aaron Rose. Mike, you pulled together our collective as a group 53-man roster projections. Tuesday is cut down day. The roster has to go from 90 to 53. Starting from Nick, coming back down, who was the hardest cut?
I don't like it. I just didn't have a place for him on the team, and I don't like that I left him off, and I don't think a lot of people agree with it. I just don't see a role for Colin Saunders, and like I don't know that you cut him, but if you could maybe like trade him or something, and I just don't know why. Like if you could shed that salary somehow, like it would just make a lot of sense. Like I don't know what it is. You know, I think he's guaranteed $2.1 million this year or something like that. I just don't know what his role is right now. Like it's you got Brian Brzee at the top. You got Nathan Shepard who can play on the nose. You got Christian Boyd who can play on the nose. You got Cam Jordan that can play inside. You got Peyton Turner that can play inside. You got Kendall Vickers that you could put on the practice squad and elevate. Like I don't know. Like yeah, I think Saunders is better than some of those options. Yeah. But if you could
sort of like a Bradley Roby situation last year, though.
Yeah, Bradley
He's
Roby,
better, but is he worth that much more money better? Yeah,
that's a great comp. Yeah, and there's other needs on the team, so I don't know. Like I could see some movement there. That was the hardest one for me. I don't know. I don't know why I think that. I don't know, but it's just something that kind of as I sat with it and kept looking at it, and it was just like I don't know. And then like you put three names down as at defensive tackle on the roster, and it looks insane when you see the list because they got to have four. But there is some position flex there, and like part of the reason for having position flex is that it does allow you maybe to go heavier at one spot than another, and these elevations are something that I think helps you with it. So I don't know. I didn't feel great about it. That was just kind of I don't know. You got to make a move somewhere, and that's just kind of the one that I'm gonna stand on. One of the great things about being a sports writer and a sports talker. So you make a lot of predictions, and you can talk about the ones you got right, but you get a whole lot more wrong. And this is probably one that I'll end up getting wrong. But, I mean, I can defend my thought process on it.
Well, Saunders kind of put himself on our radar a little bit when – I mean, he played behind Brian Brzee in the last preseason game, which didn't surprise anyone. But then he said something, like kind of a cryptic, about, I've been disrespected before, but, I always bounce back or something like that. And it's just like – did he get benched? Did he get demoted? Then he wasn't out here, but he's got an injury. So, I mean, it might solve itself if he ends up.
A quick interjection. There's been a lot of IG posts like that too. Yeah. It's just kind of like, huh.
So, and then I think we had an overtime question where somebody asked who would be a surprise cut. And we're like, well, we don't think of them because they're called surprise cuts. And then the next day we're out of practice, watching Saunders with the twos, remembered he's a little disenchanted. And we're like, oh, is that? And then now he's got the injury, which, like I said, it might solve itself. He could end up on injured reserve, and they saved that spot. So, yeah, it just wouldn't be shocking to answer the money about the salary. $2 million is guaranteed, so that's a wash no matter what, unless you trade him. But he's due $3.1 million plus $300K in per game roster bonuses. So they do save money if he doesn't make the roster. So it's worth being on the radar. I understand that. My hardest cut, I mentioned that I left Equinemius St. Brown off the team, and that was hard. I just don't feel, and I did put Stanley Morgan on mine, so I just didn't feel right about having 7 receivers on my team. And I also think St. Brown, or as you pointed out, Stanley Morgan, are those perfect candidates for veterans on the practice squad who could get elevated on Saturdays. So I don't think they're going to start with 7 receivers on the active roster. And then Will Harris on the defensive side was a guy I wanted to find room for, but I think since I put Stanley Morgan on there as a special teamer, I had to get rid of a DB. I had to either keep Will Harris off or Shamar Jean-Charles off, and I kept Shamar Jean-Charles and cut Will Harris, even though I would absolutely not be surprised if I'm wrong on that one.
I kept A.T. Perry off. I wanted to kind of put him back on throughout the game. Then I took him off again, and then I wanted to put him back on. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stand on what I did this morning. I'm gonna keep EQ St. Brown. I'm going to keep Bud Means, and that's going to be my back half. Now, Perry, man, he make me look dumb because he's going out there and he's making plays, but it was hard for me to put him on that roster. Now, at kicker, I mean, now with the injury,
you just keep sticking with Charlie Smith because you made that prediction in like May, and
That's right. you
got to be able to claim victory. Yeah, you got to be able to claim victory.
That's one that's good to be wrong on. It's,
that's right.
It's better than being the 2015 CJ Spiller guy. Like it's better to go down with the ship. Yeah,
I'm standing on that. I'm standing on because I saw the vision. Just like on the kick 6, I saw the vision.
That's true. He did predict the Nakua return. He predicted it.
I felt bad for Charlie had his trainer here though, like from Ireland or whatever.
Yeah, it was like a lot.
You get to see him play or whatever. Like that was kind of tough to see. Guy didn't seem mad or anything, but like it's just like, damn, you came all this way to watch this guy. Your people playing a game and didn't get to see it. I don't know what I was going to say. I was going somewhere else with that, but I forgot the second half of my point.
Oh, you want to hear the worst thing I heard today? I asked Charlie Smith after the game. I said, obviously, I know it's not just about distance. His trainer made the point, like, hey, he's been doing good with the shorter ones, too, the last couple weeks in camp. I go, it's not just about distance, but what is the longest one you've ever made? And his answer was 66, the one you guys saw pregame. He's never even tried one from further than 66. How is he not out here?
Because you got the gun. I mean, you got to take the shot.
And I wasn't the only one. I swear we saw one from 70 before the San Fran game.
Was it San Fran or Arizona?
It was San Fran. Yeah.
He was booming them.
He said 66 is the longest one he's ever attempted.
He just shooting so much he must forget because I think
a bunch of us seen it.
Yeah. There's a lot of witnesses on that one. That's not no UFO stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of witnesses on that one.
Maybe he means like in an official Saints practice and not a pregame warm-up.
Could be.
I don't
maybe.
Know. But I meant on a dirt field. I want to know.
Yeah, like maybe that was off a tee or something. I don't know. I can't remember. Yeah, maybe.
Qualifications and stuff changed, but we saw it. Yep. I do remember. Yeah, we did see it.
He'll be a Saints kicker eventually, though, I bet.
Yeah. Now let's roll.
Like Blake Gillikin was a year later.
Hey. Let's roll into our next segment presented by Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. Look, we had a pool of good performances to pick from today, but we have to pick a player of the game. Everybody, you can pick your own player. So, Nick, who's your player of the game today?
I mean, I gotta go with Spencer Rattler. I got to go with Spencer Rattler.
Of course.
I mean, I thought he had the best game of the day by far. Yeah.
I mean, if we're picking an NOF player of the game, Spencer Rattler's obvious.
Sure.
It was the biggest plays. It was the biggest splashes. Even the plays that were missed were partly the receiver's fault, mostly the receiver's fault. Spencer Rattler's the obvious one. If we're trying to come up with 3 different names for this segment, I'll go Groupie. I mean, I think he had everything on the line today. I thought that was a really clutch performance for him after he's had kind of a shaky preseason. He needed to prove it today, and he did.
We're going to go with the homeboy, Cabote. Cabote had a good showing.
Yep.
Cabote had a really good showing today. He, has to find a way on this roster, but he had a really good showing today with the 2 touchdowns and just being reliable.
Talk about him for a minute because he didn't make it in any of our bubble segments or whatever. You think he has was it enough?
If you're making
make
a case,
them rethink
if
it?
you're making a case, he made the case, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I just don't.
You can't do any more than what he did.
Yeah, he looked awesome. He had great vision. Great, he's somebody that I thought kept getting better too throughout camp. And I mean, man, that's what you got to do if you get an opportunity. You got in a rhythm. You really showed it. But I just think the numbers are tough, especially because Taysom's kind of like blurs those lines, and then he's a fullback, but he's a running back, and he's a tight end, and I mean. He's almost like running back for it.
12 carries, 59 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 catch for 13 yards. It was a great game by him. But here's one reason why I never considered changing my 53 because I had Jordan Mims on it. We all had Jordan Mims on it, and he sure didn't do anything to shake my confidence.
Mims didn't hurt himself at
Jordan
all.
Mims, 5 carries for 33 yards and 2 catches for 14 yards. He averaged about 7 yards a play today.
Yeah.
Just continue. He's looked great all camp. I feel good about him. You will have to pay to read what we all did with Kendre Miller, though.
That's right. Send them in there. Camp 24.
Going back just to the beginning, though, like I think you got to go with Rattler on this. Is the overall? I mean,
no question.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and tally how many yards he lost on drop passes, but I think anecdotally, and it's probably pretty safe to say at least 50. I mean, at least 50 yards. So. I think he very easily he should have had 2 touchdowns. Yep. If he had better receivers out there, at least 155 yards, like on 13 attempts. Like that's a really, really stellar day. I mean, that performance was, if he was a higher draft pick, like he would have won. It would have been it would have been different. Yeah. It would have been a different reaction today. The only reason we're doubting him because he had great preseason one. great preseason 3. Preseason 2 was down. The only reason we're doubting him is because he's a 5th-round pick. That's the only reason we're doubting him, because it's like, oh, well, this guy lasted till the 5th round. There's branding that comes with that. But if you change that branding, the reaction, I think, is a little bit different. And, it's just the truth.
You digging deep right there. You digging real deep right there, because a lot of times the draft pick equals perception of where you are. Like, if somebody that was selected in the 2nd round makes those plays, oh, man, generational talent, this, and that. But he's 5th, so it's like, oh, well, he's looking pretty nice. So very interested to see how his career kind of grows over these next couple of months, whatever happens.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too, though, is like he lost some of the media hype, and I was like ready to, like, I was there, like I was, I first story I wrote about him, that was the first time we put out like the throw charts and everything. Like, I was there. I was basically like, he's pulled ahead, and then real talk, like Haener just looked better in practice for like a solid 10 days. Like, it was like they caught up, and then Haener pulled off. Like, and Haener responded really well to it, and if he had kept that going, like, the narrative would have kept building too. Like, so I think that's part of it too. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, if he plays like this in games, like, it's not like ninth topic on, like I was listening to Greg Rosenthal's podcast, like, after the first one, and it's like Greg thought it was a good game, but it was like the last topic on that show. Like,
top of the rundown.
If he's a earlier draft pick,
Drake
like,
May.
yeah, it's an earlier topic on the show, instead of kind of like, hey, this guy in the 5th round was amazing, and now, like, Greg's been on it, like, so he's right about it, but like, just kind of the way it's treated. And if you guys aren't listening to the show, like, he broke off, like, they changed up the format. It's a really good show. I enjoy listening to it pretty much every day. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of like at the end. Well, all the other rookies are at the beginning. I'm like, damn, when are they going to talk about Rattler? And like, it was at the end of the show.
I mean, yeah, that's draft status. I mean, the comp I keep coming up with was Will Levis, who was a 2nd-round pick last year. And halfway through the season, he got into the starting mix or whatever. I mean, that's probably the right prism. Like, I mean, certainly he wasn't like the guy's drafted 5th overall, 8th overall, 10th overall, or whatever. But he's not a 5th-round pick at all. Yeah.
For those who are in here right now, you have access to every throw in practice. Nick charted them all. Nick put it out. So be sure to check that out if you haven't. And if you aren't, what are you doing? You're missing out, because you're just seeing the games. You're not seeing the behind the scenes, the things that we are putting together for you, the fans. Now it's time for our Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. Today's question is, will the Saints be looking for a tight end 3 come waiver day? Seems like they still don't have a reliable blocking tight end.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a very fair question.
I think so. And I'll go so far as to say that as good as I think Holker was in training camp and anything, I don't think he's in marble, like, I don't think it's chiseled in the marble that he's on this team from start to finish. He's good enough to do that, but I think that you're comparing at that point. So absolutely, yeah. I think
if Equanimous St. Brown was a blocking tight end, I would have bumped Holker and put him on my roster. Like, the only reason Holker made all 3 of our rosters, I'll speak for myself, is there was no other option. There was no choice B. Like, I wasn't going to go with just 2 tight ends on my team. I think Holker did a lot of flashy things, but especially not playing in the last 2 preseason games, he could absolutely be a practice squad guy and the tight end. I don't think it's going to be the return of Nick Van Nett, who I was surprised to see is still in the NFL and played against the Saints today with the Titans starters. But a Nick Van Nett type, who is a blocker first with a little pass catching ability, wouldn't surprise me at all if that's something they're on the lookout for.
What if getting a tight end was like going to Matt Bowers? You can get whatever you want, whatever suits your needs. It make life so much easier and so much better.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
That'll do it for this edition of the NewOrleans.Football show. For those who are already in here, stick around because we have overtime coming up. And for those who aren't, sign up for the website because we'll have post-game shows like this in the entire season. Catch you next time.